The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 8 News Now or Nexstar Media Group.
Realizing no one's going to be 100% happy.
Now the fight over water. A new timeline over Colorado River water use as states meet in Las Vegas to hammer out a deal.
This is nuts. I can't even, I have no words.
Speechless lawmakers, new steps from state officials and the legislature to clean up a troubled group home for teenagers. And live from the White House, President Trump speaks to the nation about our economy. We'll look at whether his words match the data.
You're watching Politics Now with John Langler on 8 News Now.
For joining us, I'm John Langler. An investigation into group homes for teenagers. You first saw the stories right here on 8 News Now. Your tax dollars and children falling through the cracks. This week, state lawmakers asked tough questions to regulators. Vanessa Murphy looks at what's being done and the lingering outrage.
This is nuts. I can't even, I have no words. I'm sorry.
Nevada's Interim Finance Committee approving the use of close to $485,000 for an emergency effort to help children who were supposed to be receiving mental health treatment. Nevada Health Authority suspending the licenses for the 4 psychiatric residential treatment facilities, homes in the middle of residential neighborhoods in Clark County, operated by Moriah Behavioral Health, also known as Ignite Teen and Eden Treatment, after allegations of abuse, neglect, and a lack of medical care.
Why did it take for news cameras and social media posts and it to rise to this level to finally get the attention of the state?
The 8 News Now investigators reporting began after this father from New York reached out with concerns about his son's care. We shared the Blumenthal story back in July.
It is just untenable that an organization like this should be around and should be allowed to, I don't even want to use the word treat children, to house them.
This was followed by neighbors, former employees, and patients sharing their stories with us, some of them frustrated with a lack of action taken by agencies they had contacted, like Clark County. Now Thursday.
It is important to note that I was abruptly terminated by the CEO of Moriah when I resisted the company's unsafe and unethical demands and was threatened professionally.
Some of those voices finally heard by state lawmakers.
Just the horrific conditions about not feeding children with eating disorders that are in these facilities, or children running away or being taken down to the strip and provided alcohol by staff members.
Director of Nevada Health Authority Stacy Weeks hesitant to reveal all of the details during active investigations.
These folks can be sometimes very litigious.
The business filed a complaint against the state and requested a temporary restraining order to keep inspectors out, which Clark County District Court Judge Jennifer Schwartz first signed but then tossed out. Then, when state and county workers showed up, the business still did not initially let them in, resulting in standoffs and a police presence last week. According to Weeks, her team found 9 children. But due to a lack of medical records and cooperation from the business, the state still doesn't know how many patients were inside those homes. We obtained this letter from CEO Mendy Barron telling the state it has no authority to take over the homes, along with a threat to sue.
So I just want to know how we're moving forward so kids are safe and we don't have these facilities collecting money in charge of kids and neighborhoods that are being impacted, all under taxpayer dollars.
Weeks says legislation and policy changes are needed, along with additional resources to try to make sure this doesn't happen again. Vanessa Murphy, 8 News Now.
We did reach out to Moriah's CEO for comment this week. We did not get a response. This week, the battle over Colorado River water rights flooded Las Vegas. All 7 states in the basin on the river gathered here for a key meeting. The Trump administration says it will step in now if states cannot find a solution by February. A compact on river rights expires at the end of next year. 8 News Now reporter Joshua Peguero spoke with the acting commissioner of the Bureau of Reclamation.
40 million people rely on the Colorado River. About 80% of the river is used for agriculture. In 1922, 7 states negotiated an agreement on water usage: Nevada, Arizona, California, Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming. But now they can't agree on a new deal to further cut water usage. Acting Commissioner of the Bureau of Reclamation, Scott Cameron, says the federal government will step in, but
the important message is that everyone is going to be a lot better off if there's a 7-state deal because of the flexibilities that we would expect to be part of a 7-state deal.
Officials with the 7 Colorado River states were at Caesars Palace Wednesday for a 3-day conference. The federal government has set a deadline of February 14th for the states to tell them the details of a deal. If they don't come up with one, Secretary of Interior Doug Burgum would intervene.
People need to get practical. They need to be willing to compromise. They need to be willing to make tough decisions, realizing no one's going to be 100% happy.
The reason for the February deadline is because Arizona lawmakers and Congress would have to approve the deal.
Everybody needs to focus on the problem at hand. Everybody needs to realize that they're all better off if there's a 7-state deal than if there isn't.
Southern Nevada is considered a leader in water conservation. According to the Southern Nevada Water Authority, the area has decreased its water consumption from the Colorado River 36% over the last 2 decades. Joshua Peguero, 8 News Now.
The agency expects a draft analysis for public comment next month. One likely source of that public comment comes from Kyle Rohrink of the Great Basin Water Network. He's followed the Colorado River water drama for years.
When is there going to finally be some decisions and some action before it's kind of too late?
This meeting prefaced that indeed there will be some decisions and actions made in the year 2026, and that is a major bit of progress for everybody who has an interest in the Colorado River. I think by the end of next year, if what everybody is saying is held to be true from this conference, is that there will be a plan in place, or there could be litigation.
You mentioned sort of the February deadline that's been set for the states to come to an agreement. Otherwise, the Interior Secretary and the federal government sort of steps in. What, in your view, is wrong if Secretary Burgum and the federal government just decides, okay, states, you guys can't sort this out, we'll do it? What would be wrong with that in your view?
Well, I think it's already being alluded to because this process of developing these very big regulatory documents, usually there's an underlying assumption on Colorado River matters that the 7 states that make up the Colorado River Basin are in somewhat of lockstep about what will be agreed upon. What has come out of this conference, from what we're seeing, is that the 7 states likely don't have a plan that they're all in agreement on right now, but the federal government is going to put something out anyways. And that is a big difference from what we saw in about 20 years ago. Whenever the existing framework was being developed, there was a bit of harmony, a bit of unison amongst the 7 states, but that has completely changed over the past 20 years.
If there's a hard time getting to an agreement on what at least the state of play is, that really means there's a lot of work that has to get done, and February 14th is not that far away.
I think what you can expect ultimately is an agreement that applies a lot of wiggle room, an agreement that won't be some final document, an agreement where there are safety valves and fail-safes and all types of options available to all parties that allow them to have other types of negotiations moving forward. So what I would expect is that there isn't going to be a lot of certainty. The only thing that is certain is that there will be fighting and disagreements and conflicts and problems.
Are you satisfied with the process, at least, that you're seeing from your point of view of what's happening with the states and the federal government and trying to find some way forward with river water usage?
It would be difficult to satisfy what I want to see, because what I want to see is that every state in the basin commits in writing to using less water for the foreseeable future. And I highly, highly doubt that the upper basin states especially are going to commit to quantified reductions in their usage moving forward. And we'll see what that looks like. I believe that lower basin states are going to continue to commit to using less, and they will probably commit to using even larger sums, or using less than they are today, than what they've already committed to. But the big picture, I think, the problems on the river aren't that difficult. It's just the personalities and relationships and histories.
Nevada only uses about 2/3 of what's allowed. Major cuts would impact other states before we start feeling it. It is a fake. A revelation this week from attorneys for the estate of late tech entrepreneur Tony Hsieh. Years after Hsieh, who used to lead Zappos, died, lawyers claimed he didn't have a will to handle his vast fortune. But then someone filed one with Clark County Court this spring, a will. Last week, the 8 News Now investigators outlined the lack of evidence from the people who actually signed that document, the lack of evidence they actually exist. Now Hsieh's estate attorneys think that signature was forged. Meanwhile, a battle over Hsieh's estate lingers on. He died after a fire about 5 years ago. This week, Henderson's two police unions held a press conference to discuss the behavior of Councilwoman Monica Larson. She recently lost the endorsement of the supervisors and officers unions. In a letter to the officers union, Larson claimed HPD, quote, lacks integrity, morality, and professionalism. This all follows reporting by the 8 News Now investigators. It found video evidence of Larson yelling at a sergeant. She's also called emergency services more than 40 times this year. A representative for Larson has not responded to our request for comment. Next, here on Politics Now, protecting synagogues, how the local Jewish community is responding to rising anti-Semitic and terrorist attacks. Plus, the state of the economy, President Trump's view, and the latest data.
Welcome back to Politics Now.
Tragedy in Australia. Back on Sunday, 15 people were killed in a terrorist attack on Hanukkah celebrations. It happened at Bondi Beach, near the city of Sydney. Police say a father and son committed the crime. The 24-year-old surviving son is now charged with 15 counts of murder and terrorism. Around the world, synagogues have stepped up their security in response. 2 Nevada Democrats are now asking for an investigation into OSHA dropping fines against Elon Musk's Boring Company. They surround Clark County firefighters injured in one of the tunnel construction zones. Governor Lombardo's office says an initial $400,000 citation was not legally sound. 8 News Now's James Schaefer has the story.
A company owned by the richest man in the world called Lombardo's office. Let that sink in.
Nevada Assemblymember Cynthia Moore and another Assembly member sending a statement to the district attorney's office pressing for an investigation.
Channel 8 has done a great job investigating these safety investigations.
The questions surrounding chemical burns sustained at 2 Clark County firefighters last year in the Vegas Loop tunnels. A state report finding the firefighters refused to wear protective equipment, pointing to them possibly at fault, not the company.
The fact that they're blaming firefighters for getting their skin peeled off, it's just alarming to me. There should be an investigation.
Moore has fought previously for worker protections, but this isn't bipartisan. She and a fellow Democrat writing this letter against the governor.
Is this just a matter of political convenience to go after a Republican governor that is coming up for re-election?
This has nothing to do with whether it's political or not. It's about worker safety.
Moore also concerned about the dropping of the Nevada OSHA fines after a call to a member of the governor's administration. But a state director pushing back, adding, quote, Division Legal Counsel reviewed the citations and determined that the citations were in fact legally insufficient, finding that 3 of the 4 legal requirements were not met.
They have to go through the appeals process. So I find it pretty interesting that Elon's company made that phone call, and within hours, those fines disappear.
That was James Schaefer reporting. Assemblymember Moore also questioned the altering of citations in a case file from a May 29th meeting. State officials say the citations were added back to the file after a reporter made a request. Next on Politics Now, making an economic pitch, President Trump's primetime speech and whether it matches the real-world numbers. And extending healthcare tax credits, how 4 Republicans could force a vote on a Democratic effort.
You're watching Politics Now.
This week, President Donald Trump spoke to the nation. In a televised speech, he discussed the economy and said it's doing great. But new data suggests otherwise. Washington correspondent Trevor Shirley has the story.
In a rare primetime address from the White House Wednesday, President Donald Trump insisted the economy is doing much better than data shows many Americans feel.
Over the past 11 months, we have brought more positive change to Washington than any administration in American history.
But a new Emerson University poll shows only 41% of Americans approve of the president's handling of his job, down 9% since he took office in January. That same poll also showed a plurality of those surveyed gave the president a failing grade on the economy, affordability, and health care.
After just 1 year, we have achieved more than anyone could have imagined.
During the roughly 19-minute speech, the president highlighted what he says are his administration's economic successes, while blaming any shortcomings on the Biden administration.
The price of eggs is down 82% since March, and everything else is falling rapidly. And it's not done yet.
Recent data shows the price of eggs and gasoline has fallen since President Trump returned to office. However, the Department of Agriculture says food prices in general are expected to rise 3% in 2025.
I've secured a record-breaking $18 trillion of investment into the United States, which means jobs, wage increases, growth, factory openings, and far greater national security. Much of this success has been accomplished by tariffs.
But many economists believe the president's tariff policies are directly related to higher prices across the board for the American consumer, costing the average family around $1,700 more per year, according to the Yale Budget Lab. Data out Thursday morning shows inflation did slow slightly in November at 2.7% year over year, less than the 3.1% many economists predicted.
So at what point does it become the Trump economy? Well, it's a Trump economy now. Our policies are changing people's lives. But when are we going to be able to point to numbers and say that we fixed the problem, we filled the hole that Biden dug? You know, that'll depend.
But for Americans still struggling to make ends meet, President Trump tells them to wait just a little longer.
We're poised for an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen.
Trevor Shirley reporting. The latest economic forum for state lawmakers here in Nevada shows a bit of a mixed bag. DETA reports most of the state's unemployed are looking for their first job or just quit and are trying to find a new one. Layoffs are a lot lower. Nevadans are also spending less time on unemployment. Another positive sign, wages are outpacing inflation in Nevada. Back on Capitol Hill, a major switch in the House. 4 Republicans say they're joining Democrats in an effort to extend Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies. They expire at the end of the month. As Raquel Martin explains, the Republican-controlled House may pass a Democratic bill against Speaker Mike Johnson's wishes.
Time's up, y'all. The ACA tax credits are expiring December 31st.
With just days to spare before lawmakers head home for the holidays, 4 House Republicans joined Democrats to tee up a vote to extend Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies another 3 years.
Look, we were really left with no choice.
New York Republican Congressman Mike Lawler is one of them. He says his decision comes after failed negotiations with House Speaker Mike Johnson.
Doing nothing is the worst outcome.
The revolt rattled many in the GOP Wednesday.
They've surrendered the agenda to Democrats. I'm frustrated with our leadership team for not really leading on this.
And are skeptical the last-ditch effort will work. Senate Republicans struck down the same exact Democratic proposal last week. Republicans have long objected to the plan's expensive price tag. The divide was at the heart of this year's historic government shutdown.
I doubt it'll go anywhere in the Senate. Miracles are possible. Jesus might come back, but I doubt it.
Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley is keeping hope alive. He says with no other viable option on the table.
Got to do something. I mean, what I'm not in favor of is just sitting back and saying, well, I'll just hope for the best, hope people will be okay while their health care costs triple. They're not going to be okay.
And that was Raquel Martin reporting from Washington, D.C. A website tied to Governor Gavin Newsom from California takes aim at former Nevada lawmaker Michelle Fiore. It's a list of what he says are Trump's top 10 criminal cronies. The site has an official .gov address. Fiore, of course, is a former state lawmaker and Las Vegas councilwoman. She was pardoned by the president earlier this year after being convicted of wire fraud. Fiore is still suspended with pay from her position as a Pahrump Justice of the Peace. We're back after this.
Welcome back to Politics Now.
Next week, a special edition of Politics Now. We look back at 2025 and ahead to 2026. I'll speak with former Clark County Commissioner Chris Giunkiliani and former Assistant Sheriff Tom Roberts to discuss what we've seen and what's ahead. We hope you'll join us. Until then, thanks for watching Politics Now, the latest political news at 8newsnow.com. Have a happy holidays. We'll see you next time. Take care.